Welcome to the Hyper Voice, episode 51. This is a show all about Pokemon's video game championship series. I am your host,
Stephen Morioka.
And I am joined by Alex Underhill. What was that, an echo? Who's there?
Hey, Stephen, what's up? What's going on?
Hey, Alex, what's going on? I see you're utilizing an echo chamber of some sort now.
No, I think you're just going a little bit crazy.
I know. It's like how I always refer to myself as we a lot. You know, that multiple personality disorder? No, that's not a real thing.
I heard both of you there.
Oh gosh, that's getting scary. Well, I hope nobody else did, but maybe it's all in my head. I hope it's all in my head. No, that'd be even worse. That is the bad thing.
I hope Steven doesn't edit that out.
No, I'm not going to touch that. Welcome everybody to the show. We're going to be talking about more Pokemon stuff, of course. We have a lot of information about the World Championships, a couple of things happening there, and a new Nintendo Switch system, which we'll get into that as well. But let's start, as we've been doing the last few weeks, with some feedback. And this comes from Twitter, from Patrick, who is at PatFromPalette, who says, "Listen to the first episode of Soundproof Cast. Thanks to the recommendation from the Hyper Voice. Very good stuff from all of you. Loved it. By the way, with all the mentions of Dr. Fidget, we can't help but not mention the lava pool." So, Patrick, PatFromPalette, thank you so much for the feedback on all the shows here, really. So Sam Harsma, the original host of the lava pool, which is the original, audio show about Pokemon VGC, which ran from 2012, summer of 2012 till somewhere in the middle of our first season's run. But Sam was very instrumental in getting us going. But a lot of good stuff from Jake and Brendan as well on the Soundproof Cast. Definitely go check them out. Yet another plug for them. Yeah,
I was gonna say I had the chance to check them out, and it was a solid show. They've got some cool segments lined up, some cool more interview style segments with their guests. So just one more plug for them before we start making them pay for advertisement.
Oh gosh, I like your style. Well, very nice.
Sorry, Jake.
Just kidding, folks. But well, Alex, the first question I want to ask you today is essentially, kind of in between that middle point of Worlds and the last International from Columbus ending, but you're qualified for Worlds Day 1. I am not, so I've been, pretty much in the off-season. I haven't been doing anything Pokemon related, which is exactly okay for now. But although I've been itching to play a lot, it's kind of weird. I just came back, wanted to get back into things.
That's just how it gets you.
I guess we'll get to talk about that later for me, maybe. But my question is, how is your Worlds prep going right now? Are you even doing anything?
I was going to say, I wish I had your drive, Steven, because right now I have hardly thought about VGC. I'm still active in my team building chats, so we're still hashing things out, but they're doing all the legwork. I'm just, providing my thoughts on different theories and stuff. Haven't really done too much work on stuff for myself, so being a bit lazy, enjoying this off time because I don't know, it's nice to take a break from competitive games in general and to just take it easy with games that you can take at your own pace. So that's where I'm at and kind of enjoying it. But I do need to start getting on that grind if I want to do well at Worlds.
Yeah, we are actually, we're pretty much a month away at this point. So
yeah, that's 4 weekends. Like, what? I'm fine.
Yeah, it's so crazy to think about that,
Now, Steven, I don't want to tell you my strategy, but this year, when I rocked up to Collinsville, I didn't have a team till the day before, and I just kind of took something off ladder, showed up, played, and got second. So my plan going in was to just not play a single game between Nats and Worlds, and I'm going to be unstoppable.
Okay, so you're going to wing it, and then you're just going to roll through everybody come Worlds time.
It's kind of like that common joke, they can't read my mind if I don't even know what I'm going to do.
That's a very good point, yeah. I guess the best way to win is to be unpredictable, and then no one can be able to figure it out. But, it's nice you're making a few marginal gains and small progressions, just in your team building groups to just, go over topics and theories and stuff for what to bring for your team. But still time left. Just glad you're doing things, and just still enjoy the time off, because probably like come right before Worlds and then right after, we're probably gonna be jumping right into the next season whenever they announce that information.
Yeah, speaking of, we might as well just jump over right into that, Steven. We kind of got some confirmation things are looking up. Like, we might have a season next season.
Yeah, we sure did. Or we sure did see that information. So, last week, after we'd finished, recording our show for the previous episode, Pokemon announced a bunch of information for the Pokemon World Championships in Washington, D.C. this year. There was a lot of registration info, what the fees are to play in the DC Open, the Pokken Tournament DX LCQ, all this player info for like when you got to register and check in and all that. But probably like the big key point here from the page from the DC Open is that it opens with just saying that you can start your 2020 Championship Series season here in DC at the DC Open for the video game, and then it mentions more like the points will be awarded based on 2020 season tables, as well as this is like a regional championship level event. So we have confirmed written text about having a season next year. So that's great.
Yeah, and that's good, because while we were pretty confident we were going to have a season, and there were a bunch of hints here and there, whether people had heard leaked information or using other bits of information to confirm it. This is about as good as it gets on the official Pokemon.com page, saying that we have a 2020 season. And I'm happy because it's nice that with the whole Pokemon circuit, they figure out everything for us. We just, attend the tournaments and give them our money. But it's good because now we know they're going to be taking care of things for this next season. We know that they've got a plan going forward, and are probably already planning things far in advance for, say, like the Switch and stuff.
Yeah, and that's really good to hear. And I know they probably do have a plan for the season moving forward, but like how they will execute that, I don't feel like that is flushed out yet,
Maybe. I see what you mean, because like what we've been theorying about it. We already talked about it on the episode, but what happens the day after Worlds? We will know at Worlds. We know that for sure. But just we're counting down the timer. We're a month away from finding out what happens in September. What happens in that for that last weekend of August? What are we going to be thinking about, theorying, building? Is it the same format? Is it nothing new?
I think that day after Worlds, once that's all over, we're going to have like 2 weeks off where there'll be any tournaments of any level at all, no Premier Challenges, no Midseason Showdowns, and then we'll probably have information for what's to come in September till however long that'll be for that fall portion of the format on Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, but we shall see, won't we?
Yeah.
Very exciting times. But just to give a quick roundabout quick more information dump about the DC Open here, there's a registration fee, so if you wanted to play in this, it is on the Saturday, so the second day of the World Championships officially, where it's $30 for Masters Division players, $15 for junior and seniors, and you play in it. It's gonna be an Ultra Series tournament where you're just playing like we mentioned earlier, a regional championships level event for whatever those points are gonna be for the 2020 season, and this will essentially start that first, this is your first event for that season to count for the next one coming up. And, we've talked about open events in the past. I'm not the biggest fan of them. I think it detracts away from the main event. It's kind of a distraction, in my opinion. I'm still unsure if I'm going to be playing it. Most likely won't be. But we'll see. I may change my mind about that, but I don't know. I don't know yet. How are you feeling about it? Because you still have to focus on day one, which will be Friday, and then you can make a decision after that, depending on whatever happens.
All right, so I was bouncing back and forth in my head about which I was going to tackle first. But first, I want to mention that registration is done differently this year. And this is kind of a direct response to your last statement, but if you want to play in the Open, you need to register before the tournament, before going to Worlds. I don't know exactly when the deadline is. I guess it says Friday, but Friday at 5 p.m. So technically, you could probably register after day one, but they are not saving seats for the day one players. And the option to be refunded if you make day two is available this time around. It's interesting. Last year, I think they allowed half of the seats to be filled from just spectators and what have you, other players signing up for the DC Open, and then the other half were reserved for players that did not make it to the second day of competition but played in day one of Worlds. However, this year, they're not reserving those seats. You want to register ahead of time, and if you do make it to day two, you get refunded, which is a really interesting concept that they're allowing us to have this option this time. I personally will not be registering for it, just as of now. I mean, I've got a month to weigh it over, or, maybe it fills up and the decision's made for me. But right now, I don't want to register, almost as like a, what do you call it? Like not a placebo thing, but that's the word I'm going to use, where...
Like a motivator?
A motivator, where it's just like, even if you can get refunded, I'd rather just, have confidence in myself that I can make it to the second day, and so I'm not even going to register for the tournament.
I think that plays a pretty big deal, just in your mindset and anyone's mindset who's going to be playing on day one. And this is just a really smart move on Pokemon's part. Just it's them covering all their bases for anyone who wants to play in that event who's not qualified, and especially for all the players in day one who, you never know how things are going to go that day. So it's nice to have kind of that safety net, that if you don't make it, you can still play in the DC Open fine if you've registered already for it. And if you do make it to day two, then you'll be refunded, and so you'll get to play on the next day of competition and hopefully advance farther in that one. But yeah, it's a really smart move on their part. I think one other thing to quickly mention here is spectators, again, have to pay to get in. There's a spectator fee for your badge and everything, which is $10, right?
Oh, yeah, that's the other thing. I believe it is $10, yeah, for the spectator fee. However, I think this year, all Worlds competitors, get a spectator pass.
Wait, that wasn't a thing before? I could have sworn it was.
Only for juniors and seniors. For parents and guardians.
Oh, okay, so everybody gets a +1 essentially now.
Yeah, I believe that is how it's happening this year. I don't think that was a thing in 2016, my first Worlds in San Francisco, because I just remember that venue flooded up. It got so filled and so ridiculously overcrowded that they were like denying people entry and stuff. So maybe we got those then, but I know that people are confirming it this year, and it's a interesting point of discussion.
Yeah, and that was a deliberate move on their part during 2016 in San Francisco, mainly because of the venue and the venue size. So yeah, it was really just had to do with fire code. Nothing much more about it.
I wanted to bounce back, though, because I wanted to share my thoughts on just the idea of the DC Open. Steven and I did talk about this in the past when I think the first Open at Worlds was announced in the second one, Anaheim? Yeah, Anaheim probably was the first one with an Open, and then we had Nashville, now DC. The Open, I think it's like, obviously there are going to be pros and cons to it. Overall, I think I'm against it, but it's neat because for players that don't have the most lively scenes, if they get a Worlds invite, they want to come here, they want to play as much Pokemon as they can, they get knocked out of day one, it's a chance to start their next season because maybe they don't have a great number of events in their local area, and this is just another chance to get more points towards that next season, that next Worlds invite.
That's a very
really
good
cool.
point.
However, I still am going to be the selfish American with lots of events that I say I don't like it because it does detract from Worlds, while they don't I think actually, yeah, they play the second day of it, because it's a 2-day tournament, like a regional. They play it Saturday and Sunday, so you're playing in finals of this Open. During some of the finals for other events, maybe it's TCG, but still, it's just kind of this like sideshow. It's good that it's not streamed because we don't really want to draw any attention from those players competing for Worlds, but to be the world champion, I just think it's kind of a lame way to kick off the season. And we see players that do well at it. They get to like immediately start that snowball, but like this is like in the old format. And as we saw with last year's Worlds, it was really cool how we got that immediate format shift in September. And there were a bunch of people who had a solid chunk of CP from the Nashville Open, and were starting their next season with CP earned in the previous format. And it'd be cool if we could move away from that. And then lastly, I wanted to talk about one thing that me and my coworker talked about at work, which was Worlds is this big event, and it's the end of the season, so obviously it's going to be big and glorious, and also it's the the tournament for the most glory of them all. But it'd be kind of cool if we had almost like a internet's level event to start the season in a way, as a separate event from Worlds. It'd be kind of a lot to expect people to travel a couple of weekends apart, but it'd be I don't know, it's just kind of an interesting idea. What do you think of having like this like starting tournament where it just kicks the whole season off?
Like an international in 2 weeks in September, right after Worlds?
Something like that, but it's just the thing. It could be a regional level. It's just like, they build up a lot of hype around it. Maybe they have to up the prize money or championship points for people to attend it, but it'd be kind of cool if we made a bigger deal out of the first event of the season, ignoring the Open.
I think that's something I would pass on. Marketing wise, I don't think it's the best thing to hold something that big right after Worlds when a brand new season's starting.
That's true.
Give the new blood some, both new players and the new season some time to warm up a bit, heat up a little bit, get into the flow of things. You can see a little bit of prep for some folks, but that will also be interesting for that first international on Sword and Shield. Don't know when that necessarily is going to be, but that's something I would probably pass on. I wouldn't be super interested in needing. I don't think we'd. I don't want that. I don't think we need it either.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There was a point about the. I was going to ask you, in Boston in 2015. That was did we have an Open then? The Boston Open?
I think you're right, but was there not one in San Francisco? Did they take a year off?
Well, San Francisco didn't have one because of the venue size and the that person cap for the venue.
No, Boston absolutely had an Open.
Okay, so cool, awesome. One of the things I wanted to point out is that every year since 2010, because 2009 did not have an LCQ, but every year since then, there's always been some sort of like event for players to play in. So from 2010 to 2014, you have an LCQ for your chance to actually go through that single elimination grind of best of threes to make it straight into the World Championships. And, many times, well, maybe not many times, but, a few times we've seen, I think maybe even on the trading card game side, players from the LCQ went on to win Worlds, and I know for sure in 2013, Hayden McTavish went through the Seniors Division LCQ all the way to win Worlds that year as well. So now we have the Open events, except for San Francisco, because we just mentioned that, why I didn't have one from the venue size, but they've always had something. The LCQs were kind of, when you think of that concept looking back, it's kind of ridiculous now. I did like it a lot. Just having something to really, really look forward to at Worlds if you didn't qualify. It's like, I have a chance now. But now considering the season-long grind we all go through, I'm glad that's gone. But the open events they're an okay replacement, I suppose.
Yeah. Like we mentioned, there are great reasons to have them. There are also kind of lame reasons to have them. So they're here. It's not like Steven and I get to decide, but we're just giving our thoughts.
Yeah, so probably the biggest thing to see out of that page is just saying, we got a 2020 season. Let's rejoice. Let's be happy. I mean, we all kind of thought there's no way our competitive scene's going to go away. There's always that fear in the back of my mind, but I'm glad it's, confirmed. It's nice. And one other thing I just want to mention about the World Championships here is the distribution Pokemon we're going to be getting, which is the hidden ability Aerodactyl, which is Unnerve, which gets a few moves as well as Celebrate, and that is the event Pokemon for Worlds. What do you think about this one?
I think it'll be kind of cool in the Smogon metas, with the ability to use Z Celebrate, making Aerodactyl's poor bulk into somewhat real bulk, but Aerodactyl will not change in VGC much at all for having this move Celebrate.
Yeah, not really going to help it much at all, and I guess depending on the format we get, who knows? And especially for Sword and Shield, one, I don't even know if Aerodactyl makes it into the Galar Pokedex, and another thing is it wouldn't matter anyway, because the you'd have to be a Galar region native. So you get the new symbol or whatever indicating you were caught in Generation 8, right? Caught or bred or whatever.
Don't even want to mention that Z moves are gone too.
Yeah, that too. We did get that confirmed, right?
Yeah.
The Z crystals and the Mega Stones are going to be gone from the Sword and Shield games, so we won't have to worry about those. Yeah, because I think it was the Masuda and maybe some others who mentioned in interviews that the Pokemon games are evolving, so things have to go away as well sometimes.
Yep. Exactly. This is what I talked about with the whole introducing unique things every generation, to the point that they're just going to hit a critical point where it just becomes ridiculous to add in every old mechanic or what have you to just keep bringing those all forward. And hopefully we see things simple, get a little bit more simple, so that way the games are a bit more streamlined. I don't know. That's just my personal opinion. It'll be kind of cool to see what choices they make besides the Pokedex.
Yeah, very true. A lot of stuff, a lot of information we still don't know. And that's honestly a lot of the fun for me right now, is just like the wonder. It's that sparkle, that wonder where you don't know what's coming yet. And this is really important. We'll talk about this a little bit more later on in the show, and just ongoing as well. But let's move on to our next topic. More news from last week, which I'm just going to read this out here. And so this is about Duraludon and Exhaustive Beam / Do or Die Resistance.
So wait, why is it a slash?
So this is like a, rough Japanese translation where this, so there's this contest, right, in Korokoro magazine, which is a magazine in Japan where essentially fans were able to name a brand new attack in the games, a brand new move in the game, which is supposed to be like the strongest new steel type move in this game. So it roughly translates into one of the two. We're unsure of what it is, but Exhaustive Beam, which is a steel type special move with a base power of 140, is going to be doing damage. I'm assuming it's like 100% accurate. Maybe it's 90. I have no idea. That is not listed, but one of the drawback effects of it is that you reduce your HP by 50% of the user.
So I believe this is a clone of the signature move of Blacephalon, Mind Blown, except it's just a steel-typed version of it. It's very cool that they created this contest, and not only was the reward just getting your move name in the game, which I think is honor enough to see that in the game, something that you came up with, but also the winner gets a copy of both games. So that's really fun that Pokemon ran this and went with this. It's going to be really cool to see that, the players being represented in the games.
Yeah, very good point there. Don't know how much this is going to be used on this Pokemon. I still don't know the implications on competitive play. There's just we don't have enough information on the current users, as well as what it's going to do. How did Blacephalon ever have any impact using Mind Blown at all during the 2018 season?
Somewhat. I mean, fringe usage in the beginning when it was the new toy, and then some fun stuff on like the famous Bwahaha Cough team of Showdown Ladder, which I'm sure Steven does not even know what I'm talking about, but all you people that ladder on Showdown know what I'm talking about.
Okay, I am curious. Can you please give me like a quick synopsis of what you're talking about?
So you don't know the name Bwahaha Cough at all, do you?
No, I don't know. I'm totally clueless right now. I missed that season, remember?
Oh, man. I know you did, but he was a ladder legend. A ladder warrior, as we call it in the business, or a ladder hero. But he just played a lot of ladder, and was the only person really using Lycanroc at all with Sand, and was known for running, double rock moves with a Metagross as well with Iron Head, and just kind of flinching you a lot, even if, you're not taking a lot of damage, because Landorus was common, Incineroar was common. You were able to get off Intimidates on these rock-type users, but when they're clicking Rock Slide at such a fast speed, you're not going to be able to avoid it. And yeah, his team was wild, hyper offensive, and it did kind of influence some teams because they might have thought, I don't have a Lycan Rock matchup, but I don't know of him ever attending any real tournaments, but he was just somebody on the ladder that used Stefan a lot on his team as well. Very funny ladder warrior.
Very nice. I understand the laughter now, and just how much that strategy, or just the way you utilize all of those moves, can make people rage. Very upset.
Yeah, it was funny. But now, Steven, I wanted to jump back to the name of this move. So we had this listed here in our notes of what we were going to be talking about, and you had it was like news, and then there was do or die resistance, and I thought this was something totally different because I saw the exhaustive theme, and I was like, "What does this mean? Is this a description of like a tournament running tactic?" Because the do or die resistance, I thought this was the rule change for three-way ties in resistance that I don't think Steven and I have yet to talk about on the show. Steven, are you familiar with the new rule?
Not really. What are you talking about?
So I'm doing this from memory, so do check the rules if you want to be 100% certain how this works. But I believe what happens now is if a tournament ever were to result in 3 players having the exact same resistance and opponent's resistance, 3 or more, they would randomly be seated in their placements in the final lineup of the tournament. So this was changed from, I think it was head-to-head. And so, or maybe head-to-head still exists, but if head-to-head is not a factor, they default to RNG.
Okay, interesting. So there were a lot of these trying to break these tiebreakers. So it's not like just let's all do a rock paper scissors game. What would be actually utilized to break that tie?
Yeah, so I guess now they just thought it'd be a good idea to do random. So I can't really find the page in the rulebook right now as I'm scrolling through it, but do check that out if you want to know more. But I believe there are scenarios, and I think it happened at one of our locals, Steven. I wasn't there for it, but there was a small tournament of, I think, 4 players or something, and they there was 3 players tied for first with, I believe, a 2-1 record, and they had all played each other and beat each other respectively in kind of a triangle or circle, what have you. So the game, and this is a 3-round tournament, so the game randomly decided who was first seed and the winner of the tournament. And this happened to our good friend Mario Serrano. He just by the computer's random determination, he had won the Premier Challenge.
Okay, that's kind of cool. Good stuff. I actually do recall this happening. I remember seeing this a bit. So, kind of an interesting facet to the game. Just more RNG factors outside of the game playing into this. But that's kind of funny. That's what you thought of. Is this a new type of addition to our Swiss tournament structure? Kind of funny.
Now, Steven, we did have some more exciting things, I'm sure, than VGC rules to talk about.
More exciting, you say? Well, let's see here. Well, do you want to kick us off here with the next bit of news?
Yeah. Let's talk about the Nintendo Switch Lite. I think that's
the Switch Lite. All right.
Yeah. I think that's really exciting. I mean, I think the one person who I saw it put it best before we break down what the Switch Lite is, but the one person who put it best was I saw Joe Merrick on Twitter say, if you have a Switch already, you don't need a Switch Lite. Now, if you don't have a Switch, you have the option of getting a Switch Lite or a Switch. And that's pretty much what the system is, because the Switch Lite is the newest in the Nintendo Switch family of systems, which I guess the family is now 2, right? Am I wrong there, Steven?
For the Nintendo Switch?
Yeah. There's no other Switch, right?
Correct. Yeah, all we have is the Nintendo Switch and the Nintendo Switch Lite, which will be releasing in September of
So
2019.
it's not like breaking news, but it does kind of so confirm that we will be getting maybe another kind of Switch sometime in the future. I've talked about this a lot with friends, and maybe we talked about it on the podcast, but I'm just crossing my fingers for that Pro, that Switch Plus, that Switch Upgraded, whatever you want to call it, Switch 2. Just give it a name and give it to me.
Yes, the something like a Nintendo Switch XL, maybe. But yeah, I mean the prospect of this announcement was exciting. I do have a lot of issues with the Switch Lite. And just, in general
Wow.
for us.
All right, Steven, just lay them out. Just come on. Just settle your beef with the Switch Lite.
All right. First, I just want to lay out some specs of the entire system here. So, price point is nice. It's at least $199. So it's $100 less than a regular Switch. This is a system that is dedicated to handheld play, right? So, nice thing about it is it does have its own D-pad, which the regular Switch does not have that.
For good reason.
Yeah, the regular Joy-Con do not have that because you're supposed to be able to pull them off and share and play with everybody. Yeah, but the controllers, what you would regularly think of as Joy-Con, they don't come off the system at all. It's got like an extra half hour to an hour of battery life, which that's nice, that's great. It'll last a little bit longer than your regular Switch, but probably like the big key point, only supports handheld mode. Does not support TV mode or tabletop mode, which which your regular Switch can do. There's also no HD rumble. There's no also IR, essentially, especially for that motion camera. So that means you won't really be able to use Nintendo Labo. And in terms of like local wireless play, you can't do, or I guess local play on your one system, you can't really do much with that. I don't know. The biggest point about the Nintendo Switch, it's in the title. You're supposed to be able to seamlessly, and the Nintendo Switch has delivered on all this, to seamlessly switch between playing on your TV, being able to play as a handheld, it's the hybrid system, or if you tabletop too, if you want to do that too. It delivered on all that. You were able to do that, pull the controllers apart. Now, it's just, this goes against everything that this title really means, that whole idea of what the Nintendo Switch is.
Steven, I'm not going to fight you on that. Like, yeah, it's the namesake. It is exactly that. And, they just kind of cut it in half. Like,
yeah.
My favorite nickname for it so far, crediting Giovanni Costa on Twitter, he might not be the first person to say it, but he said the Nintendo can't switch. And I thought that was pretty funny. Oh,
my name for it is the Nintendo Stay.
The Nintendo Stay.
You only stay in one mode in your handheld mode.
No, it's not the Nintendo Stay. It's the Nintendo Go, because this is the one you take on the go. The Nintendo Stay is the one at home.
I guess that's a good point. Is the Nintendo Go a new app for my phone?
Yes, exactly.
Like Pokemon
you get to go around and find all your favorite Mario and Nintendo characters and stuff.
Oh, they're hidden in the wild. Awesome.
Yeah, you have to jump up. Your phone actually measures your jumping up and down to hit the coin block above you. To get you moving.
Maybe you have to activate the accelerometer to
exactly
be able to, so it can detect your movement up and down. Yeah, but really quick, just more things about it. It comes in 3 different colors. There's a yellow, turquoise, and gray for the Nintendo Switch Lite. There's also going to be a Pokemon Sword and Shield specific version. I think it's like a Zacian and Zamagenta edition. It's got designs on the back, so I think it's a white system and it's got like the blue and red on the sides and the back or whatever. Not the back, just the buttons and the sticks. But
it's pretty. It is very pretty.
Yeah, it looks all right. Not the biggest fan of this. Now, the biggest question here, like this Nintendo Stay, it goes against everything the Switch is supposed to be. The price point is good for kids and for parents who want a cheaper system for them. Another issue I see with this is since you can't dock it, what if a kid's struggling in a game and their parent wants to be able to help them? They can't say to their child, hey, go put your system on the dock. Let's go put you on the TV. I can help you out from there without having to take actually take the controller from you. When you do that now as a parent, you have to take the whole system from them and just like show them, which isn't a new thing, but there's something cool you could always see with the regular Switch, and that won't be able to happen now. I don't know, what are your other general opinions about the Switch Lite? I'm gonna just be quiet for a little bit.
No, I mean, I would mostly just be echoing you. I think it is a bit backwards, but like that's the thing. I'm gonna go back to what I said in the Joe Merrick quote. It's another option. The Switch was a popular choice for people who commute a lot, and that's when they get to play games. They maybe don't play a lot of games at home. So this is kind of cool to just make things a little more accessible because of that cheaper price point, allowing the people that just want a handheld system, just want to be able to play Breath of the Wild or something or other while they're on the train going to work, especially since I believe that is why the 3DS did so well in Japan, is because a lot of the video game players over there like to play on their commutes. So I think that's what this is also aiming for. That cheaper price point you said for kids, that's good too. And it doesn't affect us with Switches or anything either. There's nothing really better about it. The D-pad is just the only real plus. No joke, no pun intended, really. But yeah, like I think it's just a nice alternate option, cheaper option. If I were to, if I was talking with a parent or a friend and they asked me, Alex, I'm getting a Switch, what should I do? I would still undoubtedly recommend they get the regular Switch, I think they were calling it the flagship Switch, which almost makes it sound like there's going to be a lot more Switches. Just like, oh, this is what started it all, the wave of all the Switches we're going to release. But
I mean, I think there are going to be more. It's just like the way the Nintendo DS started, and then they just got this whole family in that system.
They said family, they said flagship, but like that just makes it sound like we've got like 8 different Switches on the way. We're gonna have the one that's only for home. We're gonna have the one that's like the upgraded version. We're gonna have the one with the bigger screen. We're gonna eventually have the one.
Those are gonna be coming.
We're gonna have the one that can fold and has 2 screens so that it can properly emulate DS games.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, there's gonna be one that like emulates the Wii U gamepad, so that way you can like wirelessly connect it to your TV so you can play Wii U games. Can I go on nice. Can I go on an alternate tangent really quick, Steven?
Sure, go for it.
So, here we are at the Switch. It's Nintendo's newest system, and it's getting harder and harder. I talked about this with Pokemon and Sword and Shield and how they cut off all these, or they're limiting the number of Pokemon coming in, and there's all these crazy mechanics, whether it's, you have to evolve your Magneton in Chargestone Cave, and they have to implement that in every game, or now they've got Inkay, you have to evolve that by holding your DS upside down, so are they going to have to hold your Switch upside down? All these crazy mechanics. Well, every time Nintendo introduces a new system...
flip the Switch, or flip the light switch?
Yeah, the light switch.
Why didn't they just call it the lights? Why didn't they just call it the light switch instead? Like,
it would have been really catchy.
We get it's a Switch Lite.
Well, hold on. You're making me go on another tangent. The name, they did all right with. They did all right with the name. They did okay with the name. All right,
fine.
Nintendo has done some really bad names. This name is okay. We can forgive them for the name, right?
Yeah, that's fine. I'm okay with it.
Because like while light switch would have been cheeky, like Wii U. New Nintendo DS. I think there was more, but like there were some bad names. There were some bad names.
Dude, the Wii U.
Yeah. So that's what I'm talking about, though. So every time, since like the GameCube era, Nintendo has introduced some new whack mechanic for their systems. Now the GameCube, you might not think that it's got some crazy mechanic. However, the big thing was the GameCube controller that is still so famous had the analog bumpers. And so specifically, I'm looking at Mario Sunshine. Mario Sunshine is kind of a tough game to implement on modern consoles because they don't have these these bumpers that you can depress to different amounts. The analog versus digital. So
yeah. What's most important, like especially for that game, is the amount of pressure you put onto those affects how much water you're spraying, and
you can't do that on modern consoles.
And your distance, exactly.
So that was hard to bring forward, and now we've got the Wii. The Wii, just looking at that alone, it was brought to the Wii U pretty easily because the Wii U was basically an extension of the Wii. But the Wii, we had the point at the screen and a lot of motion controls, but mostly the pointing at the screen, looking at that right now. We don't have any kind of sensor bar for the Switch, so there's no pointing at the screen with motion controls. So bringing forward Wii games, right now I'm thinking about Skyward Sword. When are we ever going to get to play Skyward Sword again, Steven? Because we're both Zelda fans.
I don't know. I don't have an answer for that.
There's no Skyward Sword HD on the way. And I'm sorry, I know this is a VGC podcast, but I just need to get this out there. Because we're all video game fans, right? The
Yes.
last one is then the
Very
Wii,
much so.
the Wii U gamepad, as I kind of already said. It's similar enough to the DS, and that's actually one of my favorite things about the Wii U, was that it was able to emulate DS games so well because you had the TV screen and the gamepad screen. But now you can't implement Wii U games on the Switch. You could probably implement DS screens on the Switch, but it's going to be weird because touchscreen and dual screens, and it would just be a mess. So I don't know how, everyone's thinking Nintendo has this great library of games. There's so many games, so many IPs that they own that people would, buy 4 times over if they just released them on the Switch. But it's going to be a tough thing to do because of all these crazy mechanics that they've had in all their past systems.
Yeah, very true. I also just wanted to confirm here, did we complete your tangent within the tangent? Is that all good?
The tangent within the tangent was the name.
Okay, cool. And then we're good now.
Yes. I think I have gotten all my thoughts out into the podcast, I think.
Okay, excellent. So, another thing is this does not come with a kickstand, again, because, not meant for tabletop mode. This is going to be handheld only. The thing that probably irks me the most is this launches in September, the same day that The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening, the brand new Switch remake comes out. And there's
Such
no
a cute looking
Zelda
game.
version.
Oh, yeah.
There's no edition for the Zelda game.
Um,
That's really bothersome. Unless they announce it, next month or maybe a week before that all comes out. It's an odd miss.
Now, wait, Steven, I'm gonna reel this in. I'm gonna reel it back to VGC. So I was talking a bit with Justin Burns the day that this Switch was announced, and he was talking to me about how this is worrisome for VGC going forward, because as this is part of the family of systems, we are going to have to deal with it at tournaments. Now, we dealt with the 2DS in the past, but
oh boy,
yeah, the 2DS was still more functional than I think this thing is going to be, because the 2DS
that was just trouble.
You could you put a little card in there, or you covered your screen with your hand. It was awkward. But this thing, it's not dockable. So it's going to be really weird for streaming. It's almost like the issues that we encountered in the 3DS era of streaming, where if you had 2 players with digital carts come up against each other, it was nearly impossible to stream them. You just would have to pick a different match.
Yeah, that's a very good point. This may have a bigger impact towards our competitive scene moving forward into Sword and Shield, just because you have the Switch Lites and regular Switches. I also would not be... I would imagine they would allow both systems. I don't know how everything's going to work with connectivity yet.
They've gotta.
Pokemon could also just say, hey, if you're going to be coming to a tournament for the video game side, you're going to have to be playing on maybe just a regular Switch. That'd kind of be out... what's the word I'm looking for? They'd be keeping some people out from who wanted to be playing. You know? Exiling. They'd be exiling those people who bought Switch Lites who wanted to play in competitive tournaments here. So, it is a concern. I don't know what's going to happen with that, but yeah, this is just overall, this is kind of just an odd decision. This has been the rumored, a rumored new Switch system for the last 3-4 months now. This is what it ended up being. And remember when they came out with if you make an kind of an analogy to the Nintendo DS, just that whole family. The Nintendo DS is supposed to be that handheld system with 2 screens. And just going back on that whole explanation I made about the Switch being able to do multiple things, this is kind of like them if they came out with a Nintendo DS system that only had 1 screen. That's what I think about it.
Yeah, exactly that. two thoughts that I just kind of have to throw into the air here, and I'm going to bring it back to VGC, Steven. I'm sorry, but
hey, this is relevant for us now. This is coming.
I'm just trying to reel you in. Let me get these out here before I forget. But one of them is that this is a reach, but I mean everybody's coming up with their own theories, looking at Sword and Shield. But with the introduction of this whole Rotom's camera thing, watching over the fields when you're in these gym battles and such, I'm very curious if we're going to get some kind of spectator mode for the game. And I think I talked about this before, but I think it'd just be interesting to see if we got a spectator mode. And this makes me think a little bit more that it'd be cool if a third Switch could be kind of the host of it. Another thought that I also want to mention is that I think that we might be able to get some kind of like tournament hosting software where it kind of creates a tournament as the Switch hosts it together, and then just like kind of sends out pairings for us so that our Switches are easily able to be paired. And then the last thought that I wanted to introduce, and this is a bit more of a wild one, but Steven, back in the Wii days, you were able to save some data and transfer some data via the Wii remotes. I don't know if you've ever got to experience this feature. Have you?
I think I know what you're talking about.
I'm going to tie it to a certain game to try to make it a little more concrete for our listeners. But one game that I played a lot growing up was MLB Power Pros on the Wii, which was a baseball game. And you were able to kind of create players in that game. And if you wanted to, you could save the player onto your Wii remote. And then if you connected the Wii remote to another system, another Wii, you could transfer your created player to a friend's game. And if this feature was possible in the past with Wii, I imagine it could possibly be a thing with the Joy-Cons on the Switch, and maybe you could somehow save a team to a system, and then maybe that's how we play tournaments. I know it's a stretch, but it's just something I've thought about.
Yeah, like just based on what I'm hearing, it definitely sounds like a stretch. I mean, I wouldn't rule it out yet. You know,
I'm
Nintendo does crazy things all the time, so who knows? But that'd be kind of cool. You know, you just carry your team, you know, in your pocket with your controllers. That'd be kind of fun. Because the Switches now, you know, Pokemon is supposed to be the whole concept of Pokemon is that like they're monsters in your pocket. So the DS family, when we were on Game Boy Advances, those would fit. Those items would still fit in your pocket. The Switch, that doesn't really fit in anything I wear anymore.
Hey, so I have big pockets.
I can't pocket my Switch anywhere. My Pokemon on my Switch won't be able to, you know, fit in there anymore. They gotta go in
It
the
would
bag.
definitely not fit in. I mean, to be fair, the DS wouldn't either. But I was gonna say like women's pockets, like they're always so cruelly small. So they probably couldn't even fit a DS to begin with. So a Switch is out of the question.
That is quite a struggle for the women's size pockets. But yeah. I don't know. There's so much to look forward to. This is fun. I mean, like. So,
Steven,
big ultimate question. Go for it.
Oh yeah, you go, because I was going to move us forward.
Yeah, I just wanted to just ask you one quick question. Are you going to get a Nintendo Switch Lite?
No. And you?
I don't think this is for me, so it's also a no.
Yeah, just waiting on that Pro Switch, that Switch 2, so that I can get it, and me and my girlfriend can both play the Pokemon games or Animal Crossing together. I don't see myself wasting the money. I don't want to say waste. I don't want to be that cruel, but wasting the money.
Spending the money.
Spending the money on a Switch Lite.
Spending that money, right.
Now, Steven, I wanted to steer us towards one more thing before we wrap up.
Yeah, okay, go for it. Yeah, the system is for some people. But not for. We're not saying don't get it, but it is gonna be for some people. Some people will very much enjoy this.
Yes.
But yeah, Alex, let's move on to the next topic. I know you've been trying very hard to get us there.
I'm just trying to keep it in VGC, even though I had a big old rant that was just video games in general.
I mean, it was all real. I felt it was relevant.
So
Pokemon's on the Switch. Our competitive scene will be on there soon, so it is important.
I wanted to talk about this while it is relevant, since it's not really a topic that Steven and I can push to next week, and this is targeted at Leonard Kraft DeWobblefett, who we've had on the show in the past. He tweeted out a cool poll. I'm shouting out a lot of people today, giving a lot of free shout-outs out, but yeah, Leonard Kraft, he tweeted out a cool poll, so go check it out on his Twitter. Maybe we'll link it in the description here, but he talks about, would you prefer the final day of internationals or worlds to be dedicated to streaming all of top 8 like we see at regionals, or would you prefer to see finals only like how we currently have it? And he advises people to approach it from a player, spectator, and tournament organizer perspective. So I personally looked at this as a player spectator perspective because that's most relevant to me, and I don't organize tournaments, although I have, talked and worked with a lot of tournament organizers. And yeah, I think it's a very interesting question considering, especially the results of the poll. But Steven, before we get into that, what are your thoughts on this question?
So from the organizer perspective, it's kind of nice to just have to be able to call something, especially they do this a lot now at the internationals and worlds, is calling it Championship Sunday. You play all your finals for trading card game, all 3 divisions, as well as the video game. That's always a neat thing to say, like, join us for Championship Sunday. We got the finals of all these events here. It's kind of hard on the players and with this regard, playing all their matches in, especially for Swiss on the day before, on that Saturday usually, to play all your Swiss matches, then go straight into the bracket. That can be a lot, and especially if you're playing all the way to finals. So I would rather see like all of top 8 on one day, kind of like how we used to do that in the past a lot. And I have a story about that for in Nationals 2013. Maybe I'll bring that up a little bit later in a few minutes. But in terms of
Steven, just bust it open right now. Come on.
In terms of like, I'll get to it in a bit, but in terms of like the players, like it can be really tolling, and just I don't know. We talked about having to prep for one match with a lot of time in advance, and having that be the finals, and that's okay. But I would rather just see like all of the quarterfinals and onward played on one day, so you kind of get this like nice big story throughout that one day of just like started this morning in the quarterfinals, now we're in the championship of the worlds or internationals now. But for spectators, and the players really, actually from all perspectives, if you run this like the day before and have finals only on one day, that can be a really late night. I remember like Worlds the last few years, that's gone pretty late, hasn't it? Just because you got to go so deep into the tournament.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it has. It really has, because they have like a top 16 sometimes. We've seen that in the past couple of years, at least once. So yeah, just adding a lot of time on.
And especially because for the championships, this is really the chance to feature your junior and senior division players, which almost never get the spotlight ever. So like you give them an opportunity because this is the World's finals or the international finals. So it's nice for them. It's always nice to showcase, that there are younger players playing out there. You can come compete in these, that can draw more people in. But I would like to just see everything all in one day from the top 8 at least.
Yeah.
But, just really quick about the 2013 national story is before that tournament, they had mentioned how we were going to be playing, if you made it to Top Cut, you're going to be playing Swiss and all of Top Cut all the way up through finals on that one day, that first day. Because we didn't have a straight up day 2 yet. It was just like you play Swiss and you play Top Cut right after. So they told us that was what was going to happen. But when I got to top 8, they gathered us all and they said, okay, we're going to be stopping here. We're going to be playing the rest tomorrow.
And through a curveball.
Yeah. That really bothered me because I was amped up. I was ready. I was like, okay, I was just, rolling, or not rolling through people, but, I kept winning. So I was like, okay, let's keep
that's
going.
The most cocky I've ever heard Stevens. Wow. Guys,
this
make
was
note.
2013. I was on fire that season in that tournament too. And then, Chris Brown essentially, gathered us all up. They'd made the decision, okay, we're just going to move everything to tomorrow. It's getting kind of late, which if I recall correctly, it wasn't that late. But, I had way too much time to think about my matchup against Randy Qua. Ended up losing in 2 the next day. So, it's not an excuse as to why I lost, but, because Randy just played better than me that second day. But I'm still under the belief, if we had played right after, if we kept going that same night, I think I would have won that.
So, Basically, you're just going to call out Randy right now. And I think the only way to resolve this, Steven, is for you to have your 2013 team on hand at Worlds and Randy to have his 2013 team on hand at Worlds, which I don't know if Randy's going. And at some random point, we'll have a third-party member just say, the match is now, and you guys play. Of course, you guys will still be ready, so there's no way to solve this. Oh, no, I don't know what to do.
I mean, when you think about it, it's kind of weird to just have like, okay, for this day of a big major tournament, I'm just getting ready for one set. That's so strange, like just something you don't usually do in any other given tournament situation.
Now, I think it's interesting because it's a different kind of Pokemon. But overall, I think it's kind of boring. While
just finals on one day?
Oh, I just meant in general the whole prepping for matches.
Yeah.
I think, like, yes, because what it ends up doing is you see a often one-sided match because of it. You see a player who figured out, if I lead these two Pokemon and he can't afford to beat me without losing one Pokemon in return or something, or other. They come up with a very concrete, solid game plan that often just steamrolls. A very good example of this would be what we saw Wolf do to Graham Amity in finals of US Internets just a couple of weeks ago, where I was an advocate that if they had allowed them to play on the same day, I think Graham might have taken the W there because Wolf might not have had as much time to prepare. And so
that's what I was saying about my match against Randy from 2013.
When players get to go home and map things out, they realize these like infinite game plan or not definite game plans. But like that's not so much about what the rest of the tournament is about. The rest of the tournament is about coming up with game plans on the fly, using everything that you've prepared for the tournament to carry you through. For example, in the current format, maybe you have a game plan for how you play against Xerneas Groudon. But, your opponent's not going to play it like every other person that you've played on ladder. They maybe know that you have a game plan, and they're going to counter it, or they're going to try to play very weird, or maybe they have cool techs on their team, and then you have to play on the fly. Whereas, when we enter these finals, there are, 20-something, not like 20-something, but, like 15 or something people that have played your opponent. You're going to be able to get the information one way or another. You'll learn everything about their team. And there's no more surprises anymore. It's just often a beatdown. And we don't want to see those beatdowns. We want to see, skin of our teeth, what is going to happen. Because Pokemon, as much as we want to say that it's a player game, if given the time, team building often seems to be the larger aspect when you're given a whole 24 hours or so to prepare a matchup.
Yeah.
Playing is all about, showing your skill to adapt and play on the fly. That's what the skill in Pokemon is about. But there's not, there is still skill in those finals matches that we see where they have time to prepare ahead because, not everything's going to go exactly as you had planned and rehearsed. But when it does, it's just a simple little dance, and we see a lot of 2-0s in finals, I think.
Yeah, maybe it is because of that prep time. But it's like, oftentimes the video game finals tend to follow after the trading card game because the trading card game goes first in the morning, and like it's weird how they just assume everyone wants to watch all the finals. Usually for me, because I'm really only interested. Like, look, I respect the trading card game and the players who play in it, but I'm just not interested in watching that necessarily. Usually when it comes to Worlds finals, I either arrive at the venue or watch on stream. Usually when it gets close to when the junior finals are going to start, right? It's like, oh, they're only on the seniors card game finals. Like, okay, I still have time to go do something else or, go explore the city or whatever. So, I don't know. The sacrifice we'd have to make to put all of top 8 on like the final day is probably splitting the streams for both the card game and the video game, which I would be okay with. But, yeah, you'd probably also have to lose the showcasing your younger divisions playing as well.
Yeah, I think right now we have the best system that we're going to have. As what Steven and I are speaking from is our, not to call out Steven and myself, but our selfish video game players' perspectives, where this is what we would like to see. We want to see as many high-level VGC games as we can. and have that last match, have a lot on the line, be really intense where it's not so rehearsed. But I think we are in the best system right now, from my opinion. I'm not trying to speak for Steven here, but, it's about as good as it can get because you want to showcase all the divisions. You want to showcase both games. You want everybody unified on this Championship Sunday deal. 6 games in a row to see who are our 6 world champions is really cool. And we can't really work around that. I'm sure if you read Leonard's thread, a bunch of people hashed out all different kinds of ways that we can do it. But no matter what way you do it, I think you're going to have to, lose some things and gain others.
Yeah, and when you think about it, we're still getting to see all of the bracket matches on stream, essentially. It's just on a different day, and it has to do with, just timing and being able to, like all the stuff we just mentioned. So, not going to have to repeat ourselves, but, this was a very interesting topic here. All right, folks, so this is a really, really fun show to do. We got to talk a lot about the World Championships coming up, how we could see our streams and things moving forward. And it's all right of a system. I'm okay with it right now. But we also talked about the Nintendo Switch Lite and other fun things. But to wrap us up here, this has been the Hypervoice. Now, remember, all the listeners out there, you can send your feedback, your questions, your comments to our email at vgchypervoice@gmail.com. You can also find the show on YouTube, Podbean, iTunes, Google Play, and Spotify. You can subscribe, download all the shows from all those different places. Not YouTube. I don't think you can download the.
Feel free to leave us a review.
Yeah, that's a good point. I've been forgetting to mention that recently, but you can leave us a review on, I think, most of those places. iTunes for sure. I don't know about Google Play or Spotify, but leave us a review. It actually really helps with helping others discover the show so that, they can enjoy it too. Maybe you can reach out to more people. And also just, if this is something you enjoy and you think your friends might enjoy this who are not listening yet, let them know about it too.
Yeah, tell your friends.
Cool.
Yeah, definitely. I was going to mention that one, but Steven stole it from me.
Sorry, Alex. Lastly, you can find us on Facebook at our Facebook group, and you can follow us on Twitter at the Hypervoice. Now, wow, Alex, it's almost time for Worlds. This is it's getting close to crunch time. This is
no, it's
getting
not.
very
No, it's
exciting.
not. We're fine. We got a lot of time.
Okay, you keep telling yourself that. Now, lastly, you can find both of us on Twitter as well. You can follow me at
Super Marioka.
And Alex, where can people follow you?
You can follow me at Lexicon VGC.
All right, perfect. So it's kind of weird. I heard my voice echo again. It's so strange.
I know, and I was talking super slow. I think time slowed down for a second there.
Well, someone's got some powers of manipulation.
Yeah.
Well, once again, thank you all for listening. We hope you enjoyed it, and stay tuned for more of the Hypervoice.
Alola.